Okay, let's check 439 and 440. Number 2 is 16 and 5/8. Number 3, 17 and 2/5. Number 4 is 16 and 2/4, which is the same thing as 16 and 1/2. Number 5 is 26 and 3/6, which is the same thing as 26 and 1/2. Number 6 is 11 and 2/5. All right, number 7, Nate's classroom has 3 tables of different lengths. One has a side of 4.5 feet, the other of 4 feet, and the third is 2.5 feet. What is the length of all 3 tables pushed together from end to end? Okay, well, let's look. All you got to do is group them together. Since you've got halves, I'm going to put 4 and 1/2 with 2 and 1/2. Then I'm going to add the 4. Okay, 1/2 and 1/2 gives me a whole. Okay, so you would have 4 plus 2 plus 1. Do you see how the 1/2 and 1/2 gives me 1, a whole? Okay, and then plus 4. So 4, 5, 6, 7, and 7 plus 4 is going to equal 11 feet. 11 feet. Okay. All right. Number 8. Mr. Warren uses 2 1/4 bag of mulch for his garden and another 4 1/4 bag for the front of his lawn. He also uses 3/4 bags under his fountain. How many total bags does he use? Well, I'm going to go ahead and add 4 1/4 plus the 3/4. Why? I'm going to group these together using the associative property because the 1/4 and 3/4 gives me a whole. Okay, so 1/4 and 3/4 gives me 1, and then 4 plus, and then plus 2 1/4. Okay, so you see that 4 plus 1 is 5, then plus 2 1/2. I'm sorry, 1/4. Okay, and 5 plus 2 gives me 7, and the 1/4 stays the same, so 7 1/4 bags for number 8. Okay. All right, let's look at number 9. Describe how the commutative and the associative properties of addition can make adding mixed numbers easier. Well, the way that it makes it easier is that it allows you to group the numbers together, making fractions easier to work with once you identify the fractions that can give you a whole. Doesn't it? Makes it a lot easier. All right, let's look at the next page. Number 1, a carpenter cut a board into 3 pieces. One piece was 2 5/6 feet long. 2 5/6. The next piece was 3 1/6, and I'm going to go ahead and group those two together because the 1/6 plus 5/6 gives me a whole, and then plus 1 5/6. Okay, so 5/6 plus 1/6 gives me 6/6, which is a whole. Then 2 plus 3 is 5. Plus 1 5/6. Okay, so 5 plus 1 gives me 6, plus 1 5/6 would give me 7 5/6 feet. Okay, number 2, Harry works at an apple orchard. He picks, let's look at what he picks. 45 7/8 pounds of apples on Monday. He picks 42 and 3/8 pounds of apples on Wednesday. He picks 54 and 1/8 pounds of apples on Friday. How many apples does he pick on the 3 days? So you're going to have to add them together. And I would put the 45 and 7/8 together, plus the 54 and 1/8. Reason being, because the 7/8 and 1/8 equals a whole. And then I would add the 54 plus the 45, which gives me 99. So 99 plus 1 is going to give me 100. Do you guys see that? Okay, so I've got 100 in these two. And then I'm going to add 42 and 3/8 plus 42 and 3/8. Sorry, I didn't write that up here, but that would be the equation. Then using the associative property, I regroup them. And now I've got 100 plus 42 and 3/8, and that's going to give me 142 and 3/8 pounds. Okay. All right. Let's look at number 3. There were 6 oranges in the refrigerator. Joey and his friends ate 3 2/3 oranges. How many were left? That's where you're going to take away from the whole, and you've got to regroup. 6 minus 3 and 2/3. Okay, remember, take 1 from the whole and make it 5. Since my denominator in this fraction's 3, I have to work with thirds here. And how many thirds gives us a whole? 3/3. So 5 3/3 is the same thing as 6. Take away 3 2/3. 1/3, and 5 minus 3 is 2. So 2 1/3 oranges are left. Okay. All right, let's look at number 4. Darlene says that, or was asked to identify which of the following numbers is prime. Which should she pick? Remember, a prime is when you can only multiply that number times 1. And that's the only other factor. That's the only way you could get to it. So they should pick 2. Because look at 12. How can I get to 12? I can get to 12. I'm going to write your factor pairs. 1 times 12. 2 times 6. And 3 times 4. Those are your pairs. So if I could only get there by 1 times 12, that would mean it was a prime number. But you have these other ways. So it's not prime, it's composite. Let's list our factors in order. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. Remember, when you're listing factors, you have to list them in order from least to greatest. Okay? Let's list our factor pairs of 21. How do I get to 21? Well, obvious, 1 times 21. It's not even, so 2 can't go into it. 3 times 7. And I believe that's the only 2 ways that I can get to 21. So my factors of 21 are 1, 3, 7, and 21. So because it has more than 2 factors, it is not prime. Okay? 39. Let's look at 39. How do I get to 39? Always start with 1 times that number, which is 39. If you can't get to that number of any other way than 1 in itself, then it's prime. But we can, because 3 times what gets me to 39? Divide it by 3. 13. Okay? So my factors of 39 are 1, 3, 13, and 39. So the only one left is 2. So let's look. How do I get to 2? 1 times 2. So my factors of 2 are 1 and 2. So that makes it a prime number. It's the only even number that's prime. 2 is the only even number that's prime. Every other even number has 2 can go into it. So it would be like, for example, 16. 1 times 16, yes, but 2 times 8 gets me there. So every even number can be divided by 2. All right, let's look at number 5. A teacher has 100 chairs arranged for an assembly into equal rows. Write one way that the chairs can be arranged. Include the rows. Well, it's a way that they could be evenly divided. I would say a 10 by 10. 10 rows of 10 would be easier. Okay? You could do any way that it could go, that it could be divided. 100. 10, you could do 5 rows of 20. Okay? You could do 4 rows of 25. Just has to be done evenly. Okay? Number 6, Nick bought 28 folding chairs for $16. How much money did he spend on the chairs? You would multiply 28 times 16. It doesn't say about, so we're figuring out evenly. Exact. 28 times 16. 8 times 6 is 48. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 4 is 16. I'm finished. Put your place value order in your ones place. 1 times 8 is 8. 2 times 1 is 2. Add. 8 and 0 are 8. 8 plus 6 is 14. Carry your 1, 2, 3, 4. So on the chairs, 28 chairs at $16 each is $448. Okay? All right. Now, we will move on to lesson 7.10 within the next day or two.